Hey everyone. So I don't really know what's going on, but I have to film on my phone again. For some reason my editing software isn't working. But let's get into this video because I really wanted to film this one. There's really not that much out there about the IBCLC exam. I sat for the IBCLC exam March 31st, 2022. So I actually haven't gotten my results yet. So I do want to sort of make that a little disclaimer that this isn't a video to say how to pass the exam. This is a video on how to study for the exam and what I did to study for the exam. So, like I said, I took it at the end of March of 2022, and I will not be getting my results back for 12 weeks. And that's standard for anybody who takes that exam. It's just the way that they score the exam. So the exam is 175 multiple choice or multiple guess questions, with half of them being just the multiple choice questions, and then the other half being multiple choice questions with a photograph. So you're given about 4 hours to take the exam with a I think about a 5 to 10 minute break in between there. You're really not given that many breaks unless you do have to pump or breastfeed your infant. That's just kind of something to note. You can sign up for the exam online. I will have all of that linked below, but they only administer the exam twice a year. So one in the spring and one in the fall. This exam, there's no book or dedicated website or any type of like dedicated thing to study from. International Board of Examiners, I'm going to be referring to them as IBCLC. That's kind of what we call them in the lactation world. But IBCLC does not put out like any textbook or anything to kind of give you what to study. So that's kind of why I made this video, because I feel like a lot of people are like, well, how the heck do I study? What's on the test? It's a little bit intimidating. Everybody's really freaked out about the exam because we really don't know what's on it. There is a outline or syllabus that IBCLC does give you that is on their website that tells you all of the subjects that are going to be on the exam. That's really intimidating. Yeah, I would glance at it, and if there's a couple subjects that you're like, what is that? I would look that up. I would kind of look those up. I'm going to give you a couple of books that I use to study, and then also my strategies on how to study for the IBCLC exam. So these are the 3 books that whoa, they're really heavy, that I mainly used. I can't really show them, but these are the 3 books that I use to study for the IBCLC exam. The main book that I would get is the Breastfeeding Atlas. So the exam was essentially created from this book. It does also have photographs on them as well that you can study from. Definitely get your hands on this guy. Amazon has it. And I think they're actually coming out with like a brand new version of this soon, so I'm hoping I can get my hands on that. But this is like kind of your holy grail. The next book that I would get is the Comprehensive Lactation Consultant Exam Review. So unfortunately, this book does have some typos and like issues in it, but there is a printout on her website, Linda Smith, on the just corrections for the book, but it's literally all multiple choice. Where the heck? There we go. It's all multiple choice questions. Some pages don't have any photos, but most of them do. Yeah. So like these are the answers. It's a pretty decent sized book. I would just get this one just because this is what the exam is like. It's a lot like these questions. The questions are worded in such a way that when you take a multiple choice exam, you have to know how to take a multiple choice exam in order to do well. Learning how to take the multiple choice exam and just repetition is really what you need to do to study for the exam. Getting this book so that you can do all that repetition, so you can just practice taking multiple choice exam questions, because that's all that the exam is. The other book that I would get if you're having trouble with the pictures is A Guide to Decoding Lactation Photos. I would not go through every single thing in this book. You also need to have the Breastfeeding Atlas in order to even use this book. I kind of didn't really use the Breastfeeding Atlas. I just kind of read, maybe I did like the first couple of chapters, and then it was sort of enough for me. But it did give you some good strategies on how to decode photographs without much information. So I do kind of recommend this book. It's not a must, but if you're really looking to kind of have like the full picture for the exam, I would definitely get my hands on this book. Other thing is I would definitely check out Lactation Education Resources. Their website, they have a exam review course. You do have to pay for it, but I highly recommend it. It's all practice exam questions. You can get the answers right away, or you can kind of take it just like you're taking an exam and then get the answers at the end. I did a ton of practice questions leading up to the exam. I feel like that really helped me kind of get my anxiety out about the exam and sort of how it was. All of those questions and all of the questions in these books are not questions that are on the exam, but they're very, very, very similar. It's good to practice these questions. It's good to be familiar with them, and it's good to study the exam in this way. A lot of people told me, and you have maybe even heard this, that you really can't study for this exam. It's a really hard exam to study for, and that it's a really weird test. Since I sat for the exam, all of those things are true. It's the weirdest test I've ever taken. You really can't study for this exam, which sounds really weird, but once you take the exam, you'll sort of understand. I'm not saying don't study at all. I'm saying study how to take multiple choice exams. Keep doing the practice tests. If there's a subject that you know you're not good on, I would look into it a little, but don't kill yourself over it. Read as much as you can from Breastfeeding Atlas. All of the information in here is all of the information that's going to be on the exam. Like I said, was written from this, so this is really the book that you need. This is a difficult exam, but it is passable. I do feel like people sort of stress way too much about it. I definitely was somebody who did too. I'm going to be very surprised if I didn't pass, but if I didn't pass, I'll just take it again. Like, it's that simple. It was an expensive exam. I do live in the US. I had to pay a little over $600 to take this exam. It depends on your country on how much it would be for you to sit for the exam. If you do have to retake the exam, they do give you a 50% off discount. I feel like the exam was something that I overstudied for. I'm not a good test taker at all, and severe test anxiety. But I felt that I studied way too much. I wish I had just studied more practice exam questions, and then I think I would have done even better. The results are on a sliding scale. It is a pass or fail exam, so it's not like an 80%, 90%. The percentage on how much it is for you to pass changes with each exam session. So I think my session was you had to get at least a 70 or 75. I can't remember because I've seen a couple of them and they change with each exam, but it was fairly low. I want to say it was at least a 70 that you had to get. They also throw out answers in the exam. So everybody takes the same exam and they individually score everybody's exam. And then when IBCLC notices that a lot of the examiners missed this one question, they throw that question out. Exam score is essentially scaled. So everybody's just like that. So say everybody got question 28 wrong, then they would throw that question out. Taking the IBCLC exam is really intimidating, but I encourage you to study for the exam, sit for the exam, and try your best. This year, you were able to either sit for the exam at your home, like a proctoring type of exam, or you could go to an actual exam facility and take the exam in person. I voted to do the in-person because I had kind of heard the technical issues were happening with the virtual. That being said, I kind of wish I had done the virtual because my exam thing was like, or my in-person exam was like an hour and a half away. But once I actually got to my in-person exam facility, it was very nice. There was a ton of protocol. You're being monitored the whole time, so there's really no way that you could ever cheat on this exam, which I think is good. It really does mean that the IBCLCs that are out there are really truly IBCLCs and they didn't just cheat their way through the exam. If you are going to sit for the exam soon, definitely comment down below and ask any questions that you'd like, and I will try to answer them depending on what they are. But I really, really suggest just doing your practice tests and, studying generally kind of the whole scope of breastfeeding. Make sure you kind of get the anatomy in there, the ages and stages, medications. You don't need to know all the medications, but general ones. Like, think of this exam is a global exam, so you have to think of it in that sense. Don't think of a breast pump, think of hand expression, stuff like that. But it's a global exam, so you want to kind of have your mind in the breastfeeding world globally. What can somebody also do in a third world country that we can do here in the US or in Europe? So I hope that this video was informative for you. Best of luck on all of you who are taking the exam, and comment down below if you passed or if you failed, and I'd love to try and help. I will pin a comment in this video on if I pass or fail, but I will see you guys in my next video.